Welcome to Allocator Signals, a podcast by Altss. This podcast is about how institutional capital actually moves, not how it's described in pitch decks, not how it's framed in marketing materials, and not how it's summarized after the fact, but how allocators behave in practice, what they do, what they repeat, what they avoid, and what changes before it becomes visible in public data. I'm Dawid, founder of Altss. In this first episode, I want to explain what this podcast is, why it exists, and how to listen to it. Why this podcast exists. Most conversations about fundraising and capital allocation start in the wrong place. They start with stated mandates, with geography labels, with strategy descriptions. But anyone who has worked closely with institutional allocators knows something important. What allocators say and what allocators do are often not the same. Preferences evolve. Exceptions get made. Risk tolerance shifts quietly. And behavior changes long before it shows up in formal disclosures. This podcast exists to track those changes as they happen. What we mean by allocator signals. At Altss, allocator signals are patterns that can be observed and verified. For example, where capital has actually been deployed, how frequently allocations repeat, how decision timelines compress or expand, how geography shifts in practice, not in stated policy, and how allocator behavior changes across cycles. These signals are rarely dramatic. They are often quiet, but over time, they compound into very real outcomes: successful fundraisers, missed allocations, and shifts in demand that appear unexpected only if you weren't watching closely. What this podcast is not. This is not a podcast about pitching tactics, growth hacks, fundraising shortcuts, or speculative narratives dressed up as insight. We won't hype trends. We won't invent certainty. And we won't moralize market behavior. If a claim can't be supported by observable patterns, it doesn't belong here. Who this podcast is for Allocator Signals is designed for: institutional allocators, family offices and LPs, fund managers raising capital, and advisors working closely with either side. If your work depends on understanding how capital actually behaves, rather than how it's marketed, this podcast is for you. Episodes are intentionally short, focused, and dense. This is not background noise. It's something you listen to with intent: how to listen. Each episode will focus on a single idea, one behavioral shift, one allocator pattern, or one signal that's easy to miss but important to understand. Some episodes will be structural, some will be geographic. Others will focus on fundraising dynamics or allocator decision-making. The format stays consistent: clear premise, observable signals, practical implications. No filler. Why we're starting now: allocator behavior is shifting in subtle but meaningful ways. Not loudly, not uniformly, but quietly, across geographies, asset classes, and LP types. This podcast is designed to document those shifts as they happen, not years later. Closing Allocator Signals is produced by Altss, where we study institutional allocator behavior across private markets. In the next episode, we'll start with a concrete allocator signal and break it down in detail. Thanks for listening. We'll continue in the next episode.